Welcome to Heritage Acres Homestead. I'm Chas. Here you'll find our family as we strive to live a life that pleases the Lord. We do our best to make the most out of what we've been given, and we'd like to invite you to come along and join us on this journey.
Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to Heritage Acres Homestead. I'm Chas, and today we're going to talk about something that's kind of trending nowadays, and that is the rise of AI videos, pictures, recipes, websites, and all the above and more that are artificial intelligence. And it's kind of frustrating to those of us who are just the regular, people out there trying to share our lives, or trying to share real things and being just basically just overwhelmed with AI everything. But I just wanted to, give a word of caution and a word of encouragement out there as we venture into this new territory. Probably new for y'all, it's new for me. But if you're one of those, like, you're on social media and you see there are oodles and oodles and oodles of new accounts popping up every day that are all totally AI generated, which is very difficult for those of us who actually are real people behind accounts. And, we're trying to have interactions with you and with giving you like actual real recipes that we've created or that are from our family, or that, pictures that we've made to encourage you or to give you inspiration. It's just a different world. But I just also wanted to say there's a lot of these that are just, they're able to just post stuff constantly because they put no effort into it. And it's kind of a frustrating thing, but, this is the world we live in, and we're going to just keep on keeping on and do the best we can in it. But there is a recipe out there, and I don't know if it's an AI generated recipe or not. But I kind of hover amongst a lot of sourdough groups because I'm always learning. I always want to learn and want to be educated to do better. And so I kind of, read and follow and watch and try myself. Well, there's one that is just almost daily I'm seeing more people try this and more people say it's good. Again, I don't know if it's like spams, and these people are not actually really trying it. It's just showing that they're trying it because it's gotten real good, and I'm not real good at figuring out which is which. But I thought, I'm going to take this video or this recipe that is so popular, and I'm going to try it and do it just like it says. I printed it out for us. That's how quick it is. I'm going to do it just like it says, follow it to the T, and share with y'all exactly what happens. Because, again, there are so many recipes. Like, if you're following a certain diet, if you're following a keto diet, and I see these things out there that says, here's this diet for a keto recipe, or here's this recipe for a keto diet, and it's not even close to keto. I'm not necessarily doing keto, but I know enough about it to know that it does not fit in the parameters of a keto diet. And like hundreds of shares and, comments and whatever, and they're never answered because it is, artificially intelligent spam, basically, that's not going to answer. And so it's just one of those things. I see it with people. Like, there's this lady that I follow on Instagram where they're taking, she makes lovely, lovely photos. She's a decorator, and They just absolutely take those photos and doctor them up with the AI and use them as their own. And it, there again, it's kind of frustrating I don't really consider myself a content creator or digital, content creator, whatever. I'm just me. I'm just me showing y'all some of the stuff that I know and can do and have learned. And so, anyways, so this recipe is going to take our starter. Here's good old Paul. And I think I fed him day before yesterday, maybe. But what this recipe says, it says to use 165 grams of flat, unfed, hungry starter. So that's what we're going to do. He is hungry. As soon as I pull this 165 grams out, I will feed him good so he can be happy and bubbly. And I mean, he's still bubbly even though he's hungry. It still smells good. Does not smell of acetone. But from what I read underneath the recipe, people were saying that they did it even if it smelled like acetone, even if it had been in the fridge for months. So I don't know. This is a brand new adventure for me and you. But what I thought would be a neat thing to do was to make it with you and just see, does it work or does it not? There are some recipes out there that may actually be good ones, but then there's a lot that are flops. But I think what's the best thing to do is to invest in those that you believe in, that you can trust, and that are, because I don't want to spend a lot of money on ingredients for a recipe that's going to fail. I don't want to spend a lot of money on ingredients because I see something that looks so amazing and it be AI generated and not any good, and then I come out with garbage at the end. Because, most of us are living on a budget or close, and I don't want to blow that budget because of I'm looking towards just any old recipe out there. Now, I'm not one that just goes out and finds a picture of something that's been posted on the internet and tries it. But I did think this was a good enough idea for a test for us to see, does this work or does it not? So I'm going to tell you what's in it. All it is the flat, unfed, hungry starter, water, flour, and salt. That's it. Which, again, that is our normal sourdough bread. But this one says you're going to mix it all up. You're going to sit it on the counter. And you're going to let it set for 3 to 12 hours. Then you'll shape it and rest on the counter again for an hour. And then you can, it says, put it in the fridge for up to 15 hours. Or you can skip this step and go right into scoring and baking. And that's the one I'm going to do because that's what I see most people doing from this recipe, is going straight from the hour after it's risen, the 3 to 12, it rises again, and then you score and bake immediately. And then again, it's also saying you can bake in a cold Dutch oven. Most recipes of sourdough, you're going to put your shaped dough into a hot Dutch oven. But this says you can go cold. So again, we're going to see if this works or not. But I will show you every step and give you exactly how it turns out. Like I've told y'all before in the past, we have eaten a lot of junky bread that I've made as I've through the years as I've learned, and that's fine. I mean, it's still fed and nourished us, but it's there's been a lot of not so great loaves of bread. So if this one doesn't turn out, oh well, it's just another not great loaf. We'll still eat it, and if it's just too terrible, the chickens will eat it. So, and if it's great, we'll eat it too. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and get my scale. I'm going to get all my ingredients out and go over here to the counter, and we will get started. Okay, So I've got just a glass over here, just a mason jar. And I'm gonna go ahead and add my water to it. So I'm gonna tear this out, and we need 400 grams of water. So 400 grams is almost to the neck of this pint jar. Real close. So there's our 400 grams of water. Now I'm going to add this bowl with the water to my scale. I'm going to tare that. And tare just means to zero it out. And I'm going to take 165 grams of my unfed starter. If you were over here, you would see that it's not floating. Usually a sign of a starter that's ready to bake is the float test. Not a lot of people don't say that it's accurate. I'm not saying if it is or isn't anymore, because like I said, I really thought that that was a key marker, but a lot of people says it's not anymore. Try not to drip it. It's hungry, that's why it's thin and runny. Because I do keep mine a little thicker. We're up to about 140 here. We're almost there. All right. Scrape that back in there. And just real quickly, I'm going to mix this together. Now it doesn't say to do this, but just any recipe I've made before making sourdough bread, I do mix the starter and the water together. Okay. Lay that spoon there for later. Okay, now I'm going to tear it again. And we're going to add our 650 grams of bread flour. All right. Now we're going to add 15 grams of salt. There we go. That's it. That's all the ingredients. Now I'm going to straighten this, put everything back. it has definitely gotten winter again around here. We are experiencing very cold temperatures again, but your girl here gets hot. Even still, in the house at least, because it's very warm in here. So I'm just taking a dough hook. You could use a spoon, a fork, or whatever. And I'm going to begin to mix this together. The recipe says mix ingredients, and that is it. With sourdough, I've learned that a lot of times it makes you think that you don't need to knead it, when in actuality you really do need a bit of kneading, because you need to help to get those the bread pulled together. So knowing, like I said, what I did a little while ago when mixing the sourdough and the water together, knowing what little I know about the sourdough and the process, I'm going to read in a little bit on this recipe, and I'm not just going to mix the ingredients together, but I'm going to knead it slightly. So beginning in the bowl, I've got clean hands. I'm going to begin working this dough. Pull off any of these little bits around the edges. Make sure I'm getting those incorporated. I'll pull off this, a little bit more off this dough hook too. Much as I could. I think, because it feels a bit sticky, I'm going to put a little flour down and begin my kneading. Be right back. Kneading is just a pushing and a pulling of dough till you get a nice, smooth dough to work with. You don't want to use too much flour, because then you're going to make it dense and tough. You know, we don't know what this recipe is going to turn out like. So we want to make sure that we don't overdo on the flour. And the more you work it, the less sticky it will become. Now, you know me, I've told y'all before, I love me some Great British Bake Off. So I love to see everybody's different techniques that they have when they do their kneading. This is, you know, probably the predominant one, the push away and roll it back. But then I've also seen them where they take it, they just slam it on the counter. And I'm like, whoo. And they really work that dough that way too. It's just interesting. Now it is sticky feeling, but it's not really sticking to me. So we know that we're developing the gluten here. Whereas if you were doing a pastry, you know, like a pie crust or anything, you want to handle it as little as possible. With bread, we're handling it a little bit more because we want to build the gluten. Most breads are kneaded for about 5 to 10 minutes. So we're just going to continue this, and I'll speed it up so you don't have to watch the slow process. You probably don't want to watch 5 minutes of this. Okay, now that we have the dough kneaded and put in our bowl to rise, and I just put one of these little shower caps over the top of it to keep it enclosed and keep the warmth of the dough in the dough because it's very cold. Again, like I said, it's very cold here. So I'm going to keep it in the kitchen. I may even put the oven on like 150 just to make the oven a little warmer for it to sit near, and that way the chill of the air in the house will not dissuade the rise. And I'm going to go for the shortest amount of time, so I'm probably just going to do a 3 or 4 hour rise, and then from there we'll shape and bake and try that out and see how it goes. Again, this is what everybody on the comments was saying, that it worked, and we're just going to see. So we'll be back in just a little bit and see how this next step goes. So far, so good. All right, y'all. It's gotten a little bit longer than 3 hours because my husband came home from work and I wanted to have the evening with him for a little while. But it said we can go from 3 to 15 hours, so we're just about 4.5, 5. So we're still well within the realm. All right, now the next step, it says to shape. So I'm gonna scrape this out of my bowl. I'll need to fix you so you can see it a little bit better. Well, let's just turn it over this way. I mean, I guess we're just gonna have to see, because honestly, I just don't know. Let me pull you over here. All right. So, seems a bit sticky, but that's okay. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna kind of stretch it and see if I can get a little bit of lamination in it. I'm not going to try to stretch it more than that. I always fold mine up kind of like that, and then take it and roll. And then we're going to build the tension. Truthfully, it doesn't look bad. We've got a little bit of air bubbles here. It's got a bounce to it. Right, the next step, it says to let it sit on the counter for an hour, covered. So I'm just going to turn my bowl over. I'm going to set a timer, and then we'll see how this does in 1 hour. After that, it says to score and bake. So we'll check back in just a little bit. All right, y'all, here we are an hour later. It's kind of fallen slightly. That's okay though. The next thing on the recipe, it says this step isn't necessary, but this person put hers in the fridge for 15 hours. It says you can skip this step and go right to scoring. That's what we're gonna do. So I'm going to take this. I probably should have done this earlier, but that's okay. I got it on my parchment paper here. I'm going to dust it with a little bit of flour to score it. I'm going to do really anything fancy. Just going to give it maybe one stalk of wheat here. And then one big cut on the side, kind of half moon. All right, this, as you can see, this is a cold Dutch oven. It also says to, let's see, place cold Dutch oven into cold oven and set timer for 1 hour and 450. So there's 450. We've got our bread straight in to our cold Dutch oven. My Dutch oven goes straight in to the oven here. I'm trying to decide whether I need to lower that or not. I think I might need to. All right, there we go. Now, set a timer for 1 hour in the oven to 450. Once the timer goes off, set the oven to 425, uncover your Dutch oven, and cook for 10 or 15 more minutes until the top is browned. Alrighty, see you in another hour. This is not a bad looking loaf. It's got a nice crunch to it. And it's still a bit warm, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut because I'm ready to go to bed. And this way it'll cool down and a little faster. Let me get my knife. My son-in-law got me this nice bread slicing sourdough knife, but to make a cut right down the middle, it doesn't do that. It makes nice slices for sandwiches or toast or whatever, but just to cut it straight down the middle to see a cross section, I need one that's not got that hinge. So you should wait until it's cool before you cut it, but we're cutting it tonight. So I like to put it up on its side, cut down. And that's not too bad. I mean, for bread in a day from UNFED starter, I don't know, y'all. This may be one of those recipes that is a good go-to. I'll let you know how it tastes tomorrow. I'm gonna put it back together and put it in a bag and let it rest tonight. See y'all in the morning. All right, good morning. So let's cut us a slice of this bread and see how we did. All right, so what I do when I make a loaf of bread is I cut it in half usually, and then I usually stand it on its side like this. And with my wonderful sourdough bread knife that my son-in-law got me, I start from the side and saw down. This is one of my favorite parts. I would rather have what I call the hull, which means you get a lot of the crust. But it is nice and soft. The flavor's pretty good. Let's cut a toast slice. Whoops. Well, these will go with dinner tonight for sure. Y'all, I don't know who came up with that. There was no original poster on those groups, but I feel like this was kind of a win. It's not perfect, but for decent sourdough bread in a day, I'll use this recipe again. So all that to say is there are a lot of things out there that, like I said, with AI that we can't trust. But what my whole purpose of this was is to go to people who are willing to try it out for you, who will give you the real deal, that are not just trying to create content just for the sake of content to get likes and shares but they're actually, this is how they live and this is what they do. And after you've used a couple of the recipes, you can usually tell whether they're one that you want to follow or that you can trust in. And I hope that that's what you can do with me. I don't want to be one that just posts for the sake of posting. I'm going to show you what I do like, what I don't like, and everything in between. And this right here is a little bit tough on the bottom, but I don't think it's bad. It's a nice, soft bread. So there we go. This one will go down as a win, and I'll use it again. So I'll post the recipe in the description, and you can follow that. I showed you each step. I did not do the big long ferment simply because some people were saying that it was not necessary. So I wanted to really see if it was or not. And for this recipe with unfed starter, it worked well. So that's pretty neat. All right, y'all. I'm going to end it up here, and I hope that you enjoyed this, and I may try this recipe again and do the long ferment and give you the differences in those. And we'll see how that goes. All right, y'all have a great day. Thank you for being here, and God bless you. Bye-bye.